Hey everyone, Spencer here. How would you like to buy a website that is making about $70 a month and then about 10 months later it's making $6,000 a month? Today, that's the story we're going to tell and dive into exactly how it happened. I've got Gaurav Dhir here from ContentForWeb.Site. And he bought a website from motioninvest.com back in April of 2020. And shortly thereafter, it was hit by the Amazon Associates commission change, but he didn't stop. He decided to double down and produce a lot of content. So over 500 articles were produced in roughly 10 months. And he scaled the website from around $70 a month to $6,000 a month. And he goes through his process for hiring writers, scaling content, all the other on-page strategies that he followed, as well as link building strategies. And so it's a really cool story. I think that you're going to enjoy it, be able to hear, how do you go buying a site, scaling that site, and some of the advantages of doing that. Gaurav has a really interesting story. He now has a portfolio that he's been able to scale a little bit. We're going to dive into that and a lot of strategies that hopefully you can apply to your own business. Now, along the way, he scaled content relatively quickly. And so he actually hired a large team. He has editors in place. And because he was producing and now is producing so much content for his sites, he decided to allow other people to buy content from his service. And so that's why he created his service at ContentForWeb.Site. And you can check that out. For Niche Pursuits listeners, you can get a 5% discount on his services. So if you want to do that, you just input the coupon code of Niche Pursuits in all capital letters. Now, whether or not you're interested in getting any content from that service, I think you're going to enjoy this story. Hopefully you can walk away with some tips that you can apply into your own business. Hey, Gaurav, welcome to the Niche Pursuits podcast.
Hey, Spencer, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to connect. Thanks for coming on. Really excited to hear about your story and especially a recent experience you've had with growing a niche site that you purchased, and we're going to dive into those details. But before we do, maybe you can just give a brief introduction of yourself. What's your professional background or business background for listeners that may be not familiar with you?
Sure thing. So going back, I was working for this with this big supply chain company. I did my corporate grind for a few years, and once I was done with that, moved out of that, bought an offline business and scaled that, grew that. That's still with us. It's doing fine.
What kind of business is that?
It's in the education space.
Okay.
So yeah. So we've scaled that. When I say we, it's my wife and me.
Okay.
And we put in systems, processes, hired a few employees. So we've been lucky. It's kind of become a lot more independent of us than when we had bought it, and it has grown. So that has been my professional background till about COVID, and then COVID. So when COVID hit, our education business kind of suffered because of the schools having been closed here in the Greater Toronto area.
Right.
And I had a lot of free time on my hands. So that's when I got thinking, what should I do? And one of my friends who has some, I would say, very good consulting chops, he suggested that why don't you buy an online business? I didn't really know that online businesses sell. Now, my tryst with affiliate marketing goes back to 2013, where I started a website reviewing other e-commerce websites. So e-commerce was booming when I was in India back then, and e-commerce was booming there. So we just reviewed them, and then we got products, and then one of the sites approached saying that we'll just give you a commission, and that was affiliate marketing for me. I didn't even know I was doing that, but that was then. And I started exploring my options in the first quarter of 2020 when the COVID lockdown happened. And I realized that I can actually buy buy a business or buy a website or an asset with my credit card. So, well, I did that.
Okay, so we'll jump into that in just a second. But so whatever happened to that first site that you started back in 2013? How long did that last?
It lasted for a few months. We got a few freebies from these website sellers. But very interestingly, we promoted one particular service which really took off, and they still send us commissions. So the website's gone, everything's gone, but because we promoted their service at that point of time, and then so it was a cashback service, something like Rakuten.
Yes.
So
I'm familiar with that. Yep.
Yeah. So someone we promoted who joined became their very good promoter. So whatever that person gets, we get a percentage of that. So it's strange, but the last 6 years we've gotten it's hardly anything, but it just shows it can be very passive as well.
Right. I love those types of commissions that you're getting for years, right? Something that you did a really long time ago and it's still paying off. So that's cool. So that was kind of your first dip into building a website, made your first dollar online, it sounds like. And so you had been familiar with the world of internet marketing a little bit, but it sounds like you really didn't, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't build or do any type of affiliate marketing between then and now.
Absolutely, yes. For the intervening about 6 years, I was busy with my job, and we had built a website for my wife. She's a published writer, so
okay.
We kind of maintained that. So I knew I could muck around in the WordPress backend, and so I knew I had those skills, but I never put them to any use. And it was when COVID lockdown hit, and I had the time that I really got a little more deep into it.
Yeah. No, that's very cool. And so you sort of had this skill set, or at least, sort of the knowledge of the internet marketing world, affiliate marketing world. And then, as you explained, COVID hit, things changed in your existing business. It wasn't doing as well. And so you decided, you know what, I'm going to look at buying a business, thanks to your friend. So let's talk about that a little bit. What was your process for deciding what to buy and where to look?
Yep. So where to look was easy. I just Googled. And what to buy. I didn't really know a lot. I mean, when you start out, you don't really know what you don't know. But I was aware of that. So I started finding out what kind of businesses sell online. And unfortunately or fortunately for me, I started right at the top. So I probably would have started at Quiet Light Brokerage and then figured that, that's way out of my league. And
it's
then,
a little expensive.
Yes, and came to Empire Flippers. And I probably could have, in terms of affordability, I could have afforded something there, especially at the lower end, but I didn't want to start out as big. And at the same time, I was listening to podcasts. I came across niche pursuits, and pretty much at the same time, I came across motionless. So it was destiny, maybe.
Yeah.
But both of them popped up at the same time. So, and I saw your name there. So there was one trust signal that came my way. So yeah. And the other thing was that I really like the fact that I wasn't buying from a brokerage per se, at least at that time. The websites were owned by the company, so there was skin in the game. So that was a big selling point for me. So that's how I started my my journey. So it was like one thing led to the other.
Yeah. And so let's dive into the details of the deal. How much did you pay for the site? How much was it making? That sort of thing.
It was a starter website. It was monetized using Amazon affiliates, and it also had ads running at that time. I paid $6,500 for it. It was making a little over $200 a month.
Okay.
And it was about 10 days before the Amazon commission rate cut. So bad timing.
Yes, so that is tough. Wow. Okay, so let's maybe talk about that a little bit, right? You buy a site, it's historically making about $200 a month. You put down a decent amount of money, which sounds like you put on your credit card, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
right? So I guess not a big cash outlay. You're assuming that you can pay off the monthly fee with the monthly earnings of the site. Uh, but then just 10 days later, Amazon hits. What does that feel like? I mean, what do you do at that point?
Yeah. Okay. So just to set things right, I mean, I'm not one of those. Like, I don't subscribe to the fact that credit card is used to be used for monthly fee. So I did pay it off from when the money was due.
Okay,
But
very good.
yeah, when the commission rate hit, I really didn't know what to do. I was like at my wit's end, and I just took a step back. And most of the products that were kind of ranking at that time um, were in the category that came down from, I think, 8% to 3% or whatever, 7.5 to 3%, and then some of them came down even more. And the fact of the matter was that my wife was dead against us doing this, because she said that let's just focus. We have something good going in our education business. Let's find out what we can do. Nobody knew what COVID was at that time. Nobody knew how long it will last. We all thought that maybe a couple of months down the line we'll see the back of it, and then it'll be all hunky dory.
Right.
So she was against it. So I couldn't go to her, tell her that, listen, I bought this, and well, that's it lost 2/3 of its value overnight. So it was a tough few weeks, and what really saw me through were the podcasts. I'm a very podcast person, so it was your podcast. It was Doug Cunnington's podcast. So I kind of dug in at that time, and I wanted to repeat the same things that made us successful in our education business, which were putting systems, setting processes. And I myself am a good writer. I started off editing the content there, but I realized that if I am to scale this, there's absolutely no way I can scale this writing everything myself. So that's when I started investing more money into it and building up a team of writers.
Okay. All right. So you basically doubled down on the business. Things happened. Amazon rate commission changed, but you doubled down, hired more writers, started to scale out that process of, sounds like, finding more keywords, writing more content, and publishing, right? So you bought it, it sounds like, in April of 2020, roughly, because that's when the Amazon commission rate was changed. And now we're in February 2021. So it's been 10 months, something like that, give or take. We're going to get all the details in between, but how's the site doing now?
Oh, the site's doing fabulously. It's been when we sit back and my wife and I discuss, we feel that it was probably the best investment that we've ever made. And so just to put things into context, April was the commission rate change. May was the first full month of owning that site. We did $70, and January it crossed a little over 6,000. So
wow.
Yeah, so it's been good. It's been good. I mean, it's been up and down as well. Like, I've had, I would say tough times. Or I shouldn't say tough times, because I know people have had tougher times. But yeah, the journey has been good. We have invested heavily into the site. Let me clarify that at the outset. We have put in a decent bit of our personal savings before the site could sustain itself in terms of the content that we put in.
Right. Okay. So going from $70 in the first month that you own it in May to $6,000 last month, that's huge in a period of less than a year. So first, congrats on that. And we're going to talk about what you invested in and things like that. I just wanted to spend the majority of our time here talking about the exact steps that you took to go from $70 a month to $6,000 a month. Like, how did you do it? What was the sort of first steps that you took after buying the site that helped the
Okay.
most?
Yeah. So that the two things. First steps I took and the steps that helped the most. So
Okay. Sounds
I'll just
good.
tell you. I'll just tell you the first few weeks, or rather a couple of more than the first few weeks, maybe a month or so. I was pretty much all over the place. I was trying everything I could. I thought that maybe what I was looking for was that magic pill that will make the traffic suddenly go from whatever 20, 30 odd visitors a day to maybe 200 visitors a day. And after a few weeks, I realized it does not happen. So I disavowed links. I changed themes. I tried to look for alternate affiliate programs. I was all over the place, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some stage, I realized that a site that has only about 20 odd posts will rank for only so many keywords. And if it will rank only for so many keywords, then it will get only so much traffic. So what do? I need to increase the number of posts so that it ranks for more keywords and hence gets more traffic and hence it gets more commission. So, I mean, the equation was very clear. So I started hiring people. I started hiring writers, and it happened slowly, but we had about 20 odd posts when we started. Today it has 573, and none of the posts have been written by me. I've edited a few, but all the content has on this site has been outsourced. One of them has been written by my wife. So
yeah. So let's talk about that process of scaling content. What are the steps that you took? Maybe let's start with keyword research, and then we'll talk about hiring after that. So how did you decide what topics you wanted to go after?
So I just, I believe in, this was taught to me by my last company, and which is the concept of adjacency. So if I'm, let's say, talking about, I don't know, black mobile phones, and I start talking about gray mobile phones, and then from gray mobile phones, I maybe move to gray laptops. So change one thing at a time. So using that concept, and the other thing I'd heard that said quite a few times on your podcast was the fact that focus on low competition keywords. So I've focused on low volume, low competition, long tail keywords. And once that started working out, then I could move to a little more or a little higher volume and higher competition keywords and so on and so forth. So it kind of moved on from there. So basically the concept was it's pretty simple. Keyword research, publish, keyword research, publish, keyword research, publish. The secret sauce to success lay in the fact that we were able to do the process. We were able to publish as many articles as we could. Because if I were to do this alone, I probably could not have done it. If I were to do this with, let's say, managing 5 writers, even then, maybe I could not have achieved this scale. But what I did was I made an entire team. So initially, I hired a few writers, managed them myself. Then I promoted my best writer to become, the editor and have the writers work under him. So he moved from stopped from being a writer to becoming an editor per se. And with that, his income increased and my output increased exponentially. And we also instituted, so some of our writers are from India. So we instituted, and in India, Diwali is like Christmas. So we instituted a bonus for that month. We had Christmas bonuses and normal corporate stuff that is used to motivate people to get them to produce more.
So how did you find most of your writers? Was it through, Upwork or other marketplaces, or just personal contacts? What was the process for finding good writers?
Okay, that way I would say I got lucky. I didn't hire anyone from Fiverr or Upwork, or it was all 100% through personal contacts. COVID meant that a lot of very skilled people did not have very good jobs, and they were willing to take up work outside of their normal jobs to sustain themselves. So what I did was I just made I had the writing process, the research process and the writing process written down very in a very structured way. And people I hired, basically I looked at hiring intelligent people they might not have written in the past, but when they saw that structured process, they were able to replicate it and become good writers in the process. So many of the people that I hired were MBAs like me. They did not have any writing experience in the past, but they took to it like fish takes to water, and they did well.
Yeah. So what about quality control? I know listeners maybe are thinking, oh, if somebody's, has English as a second language, they're based out of India, maybe there's going to be some mistakes that it doesn't read well in an article. Did you have, what did you do to ensure that you had, quality control so articles sounded, like it was written by a native English speaker?
Well, I'm glad you asked this question. So just again, I'll put a few things into context. English is my third language, and many people would not be able to tell the difference. I can speak it as well as anyone whose first language is English.
Right.
So I figured. So there were a couple of things that played into this. So like people, for example, you would associate with people who are similar to you. And I figured that if I, being a non-native English speaker, can speak and write English well enough, exactly the same thing about my wife. It is bound to be true that people within our network would be able to. They may not have written in the past, but they would probably be able to speak and write English as well as anyone else who's a native English speaker and writer. So we were very, very conscious of that. We hired from our group, and initially I was extremely hawkish with quality control. I made sure that I tested. I didn't read all the submitted articles fully, but if you go through the first about 10 to 15% of an article, you know how good the writer is. And we just really promoted the heck out of our best writers. We gave them as much work as they could take. We increased their rates, and we just hung on very strongly to them. And that really helped us do the quality control. I'm very, very proud to say that now with our process in place, we can hire a non-native writer and turn out content which is as well as any native written content. And to scale things, I have, this is very interesting. So to scale things, I have also hired a Canadian editor who is, oh my God, that guy's he's a grammar Nazi, okay? So he would tell you grammar rules that you would probably have learned in grade 6, 7, 8. And we don't use them these days, right? But he would know all that stuff, and he's the one who kind of takes care of, he's my final gatekeeper, and he samples, he checks, and he corrects both native written content and non-native written content to be able to make sure that it is of a certain quality.
Okay. No, very good. That's good to hear. Process. It's a process that people can probably implement. It sounds like basically having good people that you know they do good work and you trust their abilities, following up with writers, reading content, and ensuring that it is the quality that the standard that you set. Now, moving to more on-page stuff, was there anything else besides just, okay, you wrote the articles and you hit publish? Was there anything that you did with the existing site or with the new content that you were adding as far as optimizing on page that you felt was really important?
Oh yes, Spencer, and I have to thank you for this. I mean, oh my God, Link Whisper is absolutely amazing. It's
Thank you.
I mean, it's probably the best thing on planet Earth after sliced bread for affiliate marketers. So I have to tell you this story. So we write for other people as well, and my VA, she publishes, and yesterday. So she sends me an email, okay, and it's not her style to send out a quote unquote a stinker, but it was a sort of a reprimand that, I mean, look at this guy, he doesn't even have Link Whisper installed. What is he doing? So I
If you
mean,
want to play with the big boys, you got to have Link Whisper installed, I guess.
I mean,
I like it.
it's just that it makes things so much more easy, and internal links are so very important. I try to give this analogy to whoever I speak with. It's like, imagine you're sent to someone else's house to look for something. Now, if one door does not logically lead to the next door, for example, if after the living room you would not get into the kitchen, or if you go upstairs you'll not have the bedrooms, but the pantry upstairs. How is the person going to find what he's there to look for? So think of the Google bot like that. It's come to your site. It does not have any idea who you are, at least for the first time. If you don't lead it in the right direction, I mean, it's going to have a tough time. It's going to have a tough job. And all said and done, the resources that Google has, the crawling resources are limited, right? So they'd rather spend the same resources where they get the information quicker and faster. So it's critically important. And Link Whisper has been a savior. We got that pretty early in our entire journey. And what that meant was that because of our scale and because of the speed of the content that we were putting, we did not have to go back and do a lot of internal linking. The tool, I mean, I don't know how it is, how the backend, how the logic works, but it started figuring out what links best to this particular article pretty soon. And that was one big thing that we did for Onpage. And I did get a hold of a whole lot of tools. I got Pop, I got Surfer SEO. No, not Surfer SEO, Market Muse.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. I've used them. I haven't used them as much as they possibly, as much as let's say their power or their strength would allow me to use them. But yeah, Link Whisper has been very good for finding orphan pages, for making sure that the pages are logically linked together, and then within categories. You can make sure that you get the suggestion within that particular category, and that's been quite helpful.
Yeah, no, very good. And so you've got your on-page sort of optimized. You got great written articles. You're doing your interlinking with Link Whisper to make sure Google's finding everything and crawling things properly, and hopefully ranking it better based on some of those linking structures. What about off-page stuff? Are you doing link building? And if you are, what's working well for you?
Okay, so that one is kind of that's been something that's I would say that was missing in my quiver. I tried a bit of Haro, Help a Reporter out.
Okay.
I wasn't very successful. I don't want to involve myself in doing all these things. I want scale. So I ended up hiring a service. There was a local PR person who used to do that. Kind of went okay, but if I were to put it on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably put my link building efforts and the results at 5, somewhere at 5. I haven't really nailed down the process. I hired a Shotgun Skyscraper link building service, and it's been okay, but the kind of return on time and return on investment that I've seen with publishing content, I've not seen the same return with any of my link building efforts. And the other fact is that some of my content, so in my entire this thing, I also focused on making infographics and having that as a standalone sort of thing that I can tap into, and that has gotten us some content, some links. Yeah.
What did you do with those infographics? Did you submit them other places, or
no?
Yeah,
I just made sure that the top ranking pages that I have, they got the infographics first, and just by the fact that they get the traffic that they do, they started attracting links. It's been a slow process, but it's a slow and steady, or a slow and a very sure process. Like, these links will keep coming. There's no stopping. As long as the infographics stay there, they'll keep coming.
Yeah, sort of the way that I felt about link building for a while is that if you're building a brand new site, you probably do need to put more effort into getting some authority, getting some links, making sure Google recognizes you. But if you buy an existing site that comes with that existing authority, it's going to have some links. And so it kind of puts you ahead of where you would be if you were to just build a site from scratch. And so it really depends on the niche, how many links you might need, but that's sort of the way I view it is if you're buying a site, it puts you so much further down the road because you probably can just publish a bunch of content like you did. And it's much more likely to rank than if you have just a brand new site, right? Is that
Absolutely.
kind of how you view it as well?
Yes, yes, and that's I mean that was my biggest reason to like buy an existing website instead of starting one from scratch. As you start, you're already so much ahead in the game.
Yeah. So just to kind of wrap things up, we talked about the earnings that you had. What about traffic? Where did it start and kind of what traffic numbers are you doing now?
So when we started, when I took the site over, it was doing a little over maybe 600, 500 to 600 visitors a month, a little more
Okay.
than that,
Hmm.
if I am not mistaken. And now we are regularly crossing 2,000 visitors a day. And
Nice.
yeah, so that's been good. And yeah, that's
And what's the breakdown in earnings between sounds like Amazon Associates? Are you also doing display ads or anything else?
Oh no. So that has been a story.
Okay.
I applied for, so when I took the site over, I applied for AdSense. I don't know why. I think it was bang in the middle of COVID that I mean, I had to wait for a long time and they finally said that you're rejected. And then I said, why bother? I mean, I calculated the RPMs, etc. And then I said, I'd probably not bother with it till I get to a certain point. And just before Black Friday, I applied again, got through, and did not use any of the ad networks. And then some extra clicks happened, and then the account got suspended. And I said,
Hmm.
I'm not going to bother with it. This is
Oh
not my cup
man.
of tea. And then finally, I applied again in January, and I got through again. And now I think, and so we've qualified for the Mediavine threshold. So we've applied to Mediavine, but all the entire traffic so far is Amazon Associates. And
Okay.
hopefully, if Mediavine comes through, then I'll see a bump there already.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I would expect that adding some display ads probably would give you a little bit of a bump. Hard to know how much, but very cool. So, congrats again on the success in terms of you've taken the site from 20, 30 visitors a day to now 2,000 visitors a day, something like that. So huge trajectory. Sounds like mostly due to all the new content. We walked through that process. Anything else, sort of either SEO wise or just any other reason you think your site has done well? Any sort of additional strategies that you'd like to share?
Well, that's it for the most part. I think if let's say anyone's wanting to buy a site and start out, I would very, very strongly focus on two things. One is publishing content as much as my budget allows, publish content, and two, work on the internal structure, make sure that it's arranged nice and well, the categories are properly laid out, the tagging is done well, and the internal linking is done well. These two things are directly under your control. uh, Building links is definitely something you would want to do, but I would say it can wait. It will come at a later stage, but I would focus on these two big things first.
Yeah. So what kind of comes next for your site or your portfolio? Are you going to go back to Motion Invest and buy another site? Are you going to just focus and grow this one? Are you gonna buy or build more sites? What's kind of the plan for your affiliate marketing empire?
Yeah, so mm, so since April, or rather, let's say since September. So April to September, I took to scale the site, and then um, as it was doing well, I got approached by a few people. I ended up buying a few sites
Okay.
in personal deals, and uh, but what I want to now do is so my top two sites, which provide the bulk of the income, or I want to move them to professional management. In fact, I've already kind of spoken with someone to manage it professionally. And my other 5 sites, which are much smaller in size, I am partnering up with someone I know and respect, and she's done a good job elsewhere to kind of, my investment, my content writing skills, and my content writing setup, her management skills put together. So we're partnering up on these two. So I'll split my portfolio, the top 2 being professionally managed and the other 5 being managed in a partnership.
Okay. All right. Very interesting. So you're certainly setting up your systems in place so that you can either scale more, right, through professional management or partnership, or just free up your time to do other things. And I know we talked a little bit before our podcast, and it sounds like you also started a content writing service, essentially, right? Why don't you give us the story of that, how that came about?
Yeah. So how it came about is about around December last year, we figured that I'm doing 1 million words a month, a little more than 1 million words a month. And I figured that the sites do not need as much content now. And I was in touch with, I was in a lot of Facebook groups, and I was in touch with a few other website owners, and I approached them, will they be willing to buy content off me? And everyone said yes. And it's relatively new, but we are already starting to get repeat orders. We have, I'm doing a little over 1 million words of that. About half of it kind of goes on to my sites right now. Half of it is available for others to take up, and a lot of it has also gotten taken up. And now I'm looking to hire more writers, scale this part of business up a little, and get a few more website owners to kind of order content from my writing service. And it's Spencer, it's not only a writing service, by the way. So I kind of productized not only my writing service, but also my infographic making service. So what we do is, it's pretty cool. If you have, let's say, an information article, you just send us the link, and we have a process by which out comes on the other end an infographic. You don't have to give us a brief. You don't have to give us anything. Is it the best designed infographic in the world? Maybe not. But what it does is you get a very well-designed, or a fairly well-designed infographic on Canva that you can then give the final touches, saves you a whole lot of time. And it's an independent sort of a link magnet, which, as long as it stays on your site, invites or gets interested people to link to it.
Right. Yeah, so it's really interesting. I mean, you essentially scaled up your own writing process for your own sites. You saw that you're doing almost 1 million words a month, or at least had the ability to do that. And then, yeah, just kind of getting the word out. Hey, anybody else want to keep my writers busy, right? I've got this system in place. Let's keep the wheels moving. And so very cool that you've been able to start that. Where should people go? Like, what's the website if they're interested in checking out your business?
Yep. So the website, it's a basic site. You can just go to ContentForWeb.Site, which is ContentForWeb.Site, and all the services are listed there. And your listeners can get a 5% discount. They just need to enter niche pursuits, all in caps, at checkout, and the 5% discount will just get applied there.
Cool. Very good. Yeah. If people want to check that out, get the 5% discount on content services or infographic services, just input that coupon code Niche Pursuits. That would be great. But other than that, Gaurav, it's been great chatting with you, hearing about your business, how you built this one site, how you've scaled that into other things now. Any final words, any final advice just for anybody looking to either start a business or grow a website, or just anything else that you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah, Spencer, I would say that I'm heavily biased, but I would say that if you have a little bit of a budget, firstly, buy a starter site. Like, do your research. Go with people who are established, people like Motion Invest, who know what they're doing. It might be, you might not buy something at 30x, but 35x. but you'll definitely get a very good asset that can grow, that can scale. So instead of starting out, spend a little bit of money. You're all said and done. If you're spending what, $3, $4, $5,000, you're still buying it off your credit card. So that's one. And uh, remember that you have two hands, one head, two legs, and 24 hours. You can't do everything yourself. So be open to outsourcing, be open to building up a team, be it your writing, be it your link building, be it your design, be it your website setup, whatever you feel that you are not good at, figure that out, get help there, and whatever you're good at, just double down on that.
Those really are great tips for people that are looking to grow, start, or scale a business. So again, thank you for coming on the Niche Pursuits podcast, sharing your thoughts, your wisdom, your journey. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Spencer. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.